How's it going, ladies and Bruce? I'm Bobby Sixkilla. Welcome back to the Divine Deception. We can no longer get into the ones that we want to play still, but we can still go into the... what is it called? The killer? The whatever serial killer guy that we are? Devon, whatever his name is. Devon Deismer. I really would like a key, especially for this one, a green key. I assume this is the last part in this entire story though, so we're going to get that late. But we need silver keys for this one and this one. So we may even have to branch out into one of these other ones before too long, but for now, let's jump into Act 5 of Devon Deismer's story. Fingers crossed we get a nice key. Green, if possible. The planner. It was early morning. The sky in the early morning had an odd air about it, and from my position on this roof, I could get a nice good look at it. I wasn't sure why I was on the roof of an abandoned building. I guess if I had to diagnose this random whim of mine, I like pacing around. I like pacing around in the open air. Pacing without wearing a face mask or hoodie. And I need to lay low. Now more than ever. And up on the roof of this abandoned building, nobody would see me up here. There were taller buildings than this, sure, but they weren't in this area of Panthea. So here I could pace with relative privacy. Pace to try and clear my mind. Though that was a sketchy prospect. It would take a lot more than just pacing to calm myself down. I mean, holy shit. Holy shit was I trash. I never held myself in the highest esteem, but this was a new low. I'd performed, to put it simply, pathetically. I could feel the iron grip of the spiral. If I lost focus for even a second, I could find myself spiraling in it. What had I done? How had I messed things up this drastically? The poly job? That was... I mean, wow. Wow. No part of that went as planned. It was truly incredible how absolutely complete my failure was. We didn't see the poly job, we only saw him planning it. So what happened there? How much of a joke of an assassin was I? I'd be laughed out of the assassin community. Sorry. This is funny to imagine an assassin community where they all come together and hang out and shit. Who did you murder today? Oh, you know Jeff? Oh yeah, fucking, he's fucked now. Yeah, I don't think assassins hang out in a community. I mean, you know better than I do. You're an assassin. Okay, there you go. I mean, not like there was an assassin community, but if there was, I'd be laughed out of it for sure. I'd laugh you out of it just for assuming that there'd be an assassin community, or thinking that that might be a thing. And if it was just this, maybe I'd get over it. But this is coming off the heels of my failure to kill Locke. This game's writing is so good. It's so impressive that it often catches me thinking what I'm thinking. A second later, I'll say something smart-assed, and then the next sentence later, they'll fucking correct it, and I'll be like, oh. Self-aware much? It's pretty impressive. My failure to fool the cops in the latest cop-robbing killings. It felt weird to refer to it as slipping. I mean, it's not like I ever had a gold standard of assassination to live up to. But damn it, I could do my job. I could kill the person I meant to. I was a base level of competence at the very simple job of murdering people, and now even that was slipping away from me. Fuck. How'd we even gotten here? I mean, really, how'd I mess those hits up? No, I knew how I messed them up. Those failures had very deliberate and specific causes. How did I get here? Into the assassination business? That was my one job. A job apparently I wasn't suited for. I could feel myself slipping. Slipping back in time. Slipping to the start of this whole thing. That night. That damn night, at my lowest point, at that damn bar. The idiot who was harassing me, calling me worthless and pathetic. I started by just striking him once. A simple punch, to shut him up. He was following me out of the bar, coming at me. He started to shove me around. What was I supposed to do? So I hit him once, across the face, just to get him to shut up. And then I kept walking, and I thought it was over. But then that arsehole, he had a switchblade on him. He ran at me. If I hadn't turned around in time, who knows what he would have done. As it was, he only stabbed me a bit in the side. Then I just flew into a rage. I'd been suppressing a lot for a while, and he was the perfect outlet for all of it. I reached out at his throat, and just started squeezing, strangling. He punched me once or twice in the side, but it was faint resistance. I wasn't trying to kill him. I was trying to show him I wasn't joking around. But I wasn't mindful. When I let go, threw him back to the ground. I thought that was it. I continued to walk away. I was done with that scum. But then I didn't hear anything. And then I still didn't hear anything. And finally I got nervous. I turned back around and approached his limp body. It couldn't be. Still, I checked for vitals. To my horror, I couldn't find any. Without my knowledge, my intent, I'd accidentally choked the man to death. I would learn later that the man was already in poor health, diagnosed with a rather disastrous disease. In fact, his inability to pay for treatment was likely the reason he was spending drunken nights provoking fights with strangers. We all have our demons. Anyways, I began to freak out. This is bad. Real bad. I couldn't even play this off as manslaughter. Something with a light sentence that could be swept away. You're a Diesman, you'll be fine. This was murder. I'd killed again. I'd go away for a long time for this. At first I thought about trying to hide the evidence, cover up my crimes, maybe flee the city. Just as soon as I had those thoughts, I gave up on them. I was tired. The man was right, my existence was aimless. I couldn't keep running or hiding or fighting. I was too exhausted. Prison felt right for me. So there, in that abandoned street in the dead of night, I called 911. I told them what I did. They listened quietly, and then I heard a soft voice on the other side. They said they'd come pick me up immediately. And then I just waited. Waited on that curbside. And waiting there I felt content. It was strange. Really strange. Regardless, that feeling wouldn't last forever. Wouldn't last particularly long. Soon enough, a police cruiser rolled right up. And out of the vehicle stepped the chief of police, Ariane. You Devon? I just nodded. I didn't know what to say. The chief looked at the body, then back to me, and back to the body. Then she sighed. Alright then, get in. I didn't have to be told twice. Aimlessly, I made my way to the back of the police car. Ariane went back to the driver's seat, and we drove away. At the time, I thought it a bit strange. Shouldn't someone be looking at the body? Do officers typically arrive by themselves like this? At the very least, I thought I'd be in cuffs. With those concerns, how to put it? They were muted. They were thoughts I was having, sure. But I didn't actually care about any of them. I barely acknowledged them. I was far more concerned with every other aspect of my situation. The drive was long, silent. I just looked out at Panthea, as it was at the dead of night. I thought about how it could easily be the last time I saw these sights. The chief, for her part, stayed equally silent. No badgering, no questioning. She just drove ahead with a steely look in her eyes. Eventually we'd arrive at the police station. I could see it out the window. Didn't look like many were there, which made sense. It was pretty late. For a few moments, Ariane just had the car parked outside. We both merely looked at the police station. Then I heard a sigh come from the front seat. Then some faint mutterings, made to nobody in particular. This is as good a chance as we'll get. Fine then, we're doing this. Then I heard her take out her phone. There was some typing. A few minutes later, the car started moving away from the police station. I was unsure what was happening, and part of me was too nervous to ask. But I figured at this point, what's the worst that could happen? Where are we going? Just be quiet. This will not take long. And that shut me up pretty quickly. The chief's tone made it perfectly clear she wasn't in the mood for a bunch of meaningless questions. If he had to give me one thing, I knew how to shut up when I needed to. So I stayed quiet, as the car continued to travel through the night city. But now, those muted questions started to come to the forefront. I didn't know much, but I knew this wasn't right. This wasn't normal. What was going on? I had no clue. Honestly speaking, I thought I was being taken to be murdered. I know it doesn't make much sense, but that's just what crossed my mind at the time. I also thought that all of this must have something to do with Odin. I mean, it had to, right? It felt like the only explanation. Whatever the case, I knew I didn't like what was happening. But I didn't need to worry for long. Soon enough, we reached our destination. We come to a building I barely recognized. I knew it was important, but I couldn't place it. Get out. Again, no one needed to tell me twice. I made my way out of the police cruiser. So did Chief Ariane. Follow me. And like that, she led me forwards. As we entered the empty building, I suddenly remembered. This is the governor's office. Why? What were we doing here? It didn't make sense to me. But at this point, I was just in for the ride. We walked forwards and I noticed Ariane moving over to a painting. She reached under it and pressed something. Then we continued down the hallway. Finally, we found ourselves in Governor Aja's office. Miss Aja took a moment to look me over. Then she spoke up. Is this him? Of course. She looked me over once more. Well, aren't we feeling judgy tonight? Oh, please, Ariane, it's an understandable reaction. Is that reaction not the very reason it's him? You have me there. Alright. Aja took a moment to straighten her posture in the chair. Hello there. I'm Governor Aja. I know. I mean, hi. Nice to meet you. It's nice to meet you too. Even if these aren't the most ideal circumstances. Yeah. Speaking of, it is my understanding that you're here because Ariane picked you up for a rather serious crime. I couldn't meet her eyes. I don't know why, it's just... I guess I had an aversion to admitting what I'd done. Devon, please, could you tell me what you did? There's no need for judgment. I'm not going to criticize you. This isn't some weird arcane punishment. I just want to hear you explain what happened. I didn't know what to say. I was so unclear on what was happening. But I was being offered a chance to confess, to repent. I wasn't particularly religious, still, it felt like the right thing to do. I found that I wanted to. Like, this is the last chance I get to do this. So I talked. I explained myself. I told the whole story, from how I'd been lingering away at my apartment, to the encounter at the bar, to my eventual decision to call the police. I didn't filter anything. I didn't make excuses. I just confessed. I spilled my heart out. I maintained eye contact with Miss Aja the whole time I told my story. And she held it back with me. And she was right. Her face didn't betray any feelings of judgment or revulsion. Then when I was finished, my face dropped to my hands. I didn't cry. I hadn't cried for many, many years. But I felt like it. It was a cathartic experience. And then, after a pause, I heard Miss Aja speak up. Well now, that is a story. A very sorry story indeed, Devon. I'm sorry that had to happen to you. To me? Governor Aja, I wasn't the victim. Is that right? I can't say I condone your actions, Devon, but considering everything you've told me, I think you're also worthy of pity. Oh? Well, thank you, Governor. That's very nice of you to say. Chief Ariane just clicked her tongue. Damn drunkards. I'm so tired of their type. You would not believe how many crimes occur right outside of bars. The havoc they've wrought, the sadness that they've caused. It's disgusting. Now, Ariane. Let's not let personal feelings creep into things. The important thing is one man's life is ended, and another's is irreversibly tainted. Ariane just looked down, sour look plastered across her face. Even I could tell that the situation was unquestionably bizarre. My curiosity was starting to get the best of me. Governor Aja, so Devon, you told us about yourself? Would you like us to talk about you? Huh? To explain what we know about you? I guess. Good. For starters, we know your last name. Devon Dysman. I didn't say anything. It's not like I was trying to hide that or anything. But still, hearing my full name, it wasn't a pleasant experience. Middle son of Odin Dysma, Panthea's local tycoon. However, in an act of shocking callousness, the man disowned you as his son. Called you all sorts of names. Disappointment, unworthy, pathetic. Without meaning to, I flinched. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend. Let's just stick to the facts, okay, Aja? I was just trying to... Forget it. The point is, Odin has tossed you to the curb. But that wasn't enough for him. A man that prideful doesn't like the idea of having a failure of a son. It doesn't gel with his self-image. And so he deployed his considerable wealth to effectively scrub your existence away. You can't actually erase a person's existence, of course. But you can do so in most ways that matter. And of course, he had your help, or at least your permission, in this exercise. So now you are, in many senses, a non-existent man. Someone who doesn't exist, not to the public at least. I guess. That is rare. That is valuable. It is? I didn't know what they were getting at. Moving on, you were also awarded for your time in the military. In fact, you received a rather prestigious award. Yes, that's right. Army man, huh? Thank you for your service. That's not necessary. Really, I didn't do much. Didn't do much? That doesn't seem right. Because according to the award, you single-handedly held one of our country's bases. That doesn't seem like much to you? I was lucky. Lucky? Is that right? Maybe. Though I must say, you must be quite lucky to have pulled off everything that you did that fateful night. I mean, I've been reading some reports about the incident as you've been making your way here. She has access to these reports. According to the eyewitnesses, there was a lot more on your side than just luck. I guess. You guess? Yes, okay, I'm good at killing. Happy? I'm shit at most things, but don't you worry, I was really good at murdering all those men. Hell, I'm so good, I can kill when I don't even try. Case in point. I gestured all around me. Miss Aisha and Ariane just stared at me. I guess my outburst was a little weird. You say that like it's a bad thing. Huh? You have a self-professed skill, and yet you're treating it as a negative? Well, I mean, killing is a bad thing. Is it? Huh? I don't know what to say. It's such a simple question, seemingly, and yet I couldn't find a good answer for it. I spent more than a couple of moments in silence, just grasping around for an answer. Then Aisha spoke up. Devon, I'm sure you're wondering why you were brought here. I am. Miss Aisha just nodded to this. You see, Devon, to me it looks like you're trying to throw away your life, and I don't think that's right. What? I didn't even know how to respond to this. You're a skilled combatant, Devon. Just eyeing you, I can tell that your physical shape is admirable. And that's after wasting away, drinking and driveless. I can only imagine what you'd be like if you'd applied your body from a young age. Any sport you'd probably would have been perfect for, not to mention the technical skills you possess. Your time in the army was valuable learning, and you learned it in record time. You have the body and skills of a perfect soldier, not to mention the blood of a daysman, a lineage most would envy uncontrollably. That isn't... Governor Aisha put up her hand. Ariane, please, some tact. Just being honest. Miss Aisha shot Ariane a dirty look. Then she turned back to me. Forget all of that. Devon, every life is valuable. None should be thrown away. But I'm a killer. So? You're saying that just because you've ended other lives, your own life is not valuable? Where exactly is the logic in that? If anything, your life is more valuable. You carry those you've killed with you. I never thought about it like that. Still, I couldn't understand what Miss Aisha was saying back then. But I'm useless. Useless? Devon, Ariane just explained exactly how useful you are. This delusion that your life has no purpose, it's just that. A delusion. There's exactly one way your life could be worthless, Devon. And that's if you throw it away, right here and now. Miss Aisha's words stung. Was I being a coward? Was I running away? Wait a second. But then, was she saying I shouldn't have called the police? Why'd you bring me here? Huh? I'm not stupid. I know you brought me here for a reason. So why? Miss Aisha and Ariane exchanged a look. A silent contest of sorts. Then Miss Aisha turned back to me. Because I believe in second chances. Huh? If we do nothing, you could go to jail. Be charged with this crime. You'd probably be found guilty. Murder like this could be thrown away for life. You'd spend the rest of many, many years you had left rotting away in some cell. But I don't think that's for the best. To me, that's a waste. A waste to everybody. Instead, I want to put you to use. To give you a purpose. A purpose? You want to make things right. Then you should work for it. Put your skills to good use for once. I don't understand. What are you saying? Devon, how do you view Panthea? Huh? Do you view it as a good city? I took a moment to think. I never really considered it. But I considered everything I knew. What I saw around. Not really. I mean, I want it to be. But it's not. Exactly. You're exactly right, Devon. Few people get it right in their first try like that. Very insightful. So then, if you got that one right, maybe you know the answer to this. Do you know why Panthea isn't what it could be? Instantly, I knew that I didn't know the answer to this one. I shook my head. One word. Conflict. Conflict? Conflict. The eternal human element. The unavoidable barrier. For Panthea to evolve, it needs to make progress. But with all the conflict around, it's impossible. Huh? I don't think I get it. You do not get why conflict is a bad thing? No? Okay. Maybe the story will make it a little clearer. You know, my brother was a good man. Honest man. A true angel. He was a hard worker, he cared for his family. He had dreams. But all of that came to a sudden stop one day. Do you know why? No. Because of a really, really, really stupid conflict. Because some Shikome hotshot wanted to score big against the Duats. Because some Shikome idiot didn't know how bombs work. Because of that, 3 innocent civilians died that day. Including my brother. Up until now, Chief Ariane had only spoken in an even-keeled, low voice. But all of a sudden, I started to hear the sparks of barely contained fury coming from him. In front of me, I noticed Governor Raja turning away. She put one hand to her mouth. Her eyes were clenched shut. It was clear this death affected them both. That's the truth about conflict. It's ugly. It's messy. It harms everyone. As below, so above. The same principle holds true, in a much less grave way in politics. Aja had seemingly composed herself once again. To make Panthea live up to what it could be, changes need to be made. Big changes. Sweeping changes. Changes that many would oppose because either it would put themselves in jeopardy or because change scares them. And most importantly, to make that change, you need power. And power will always attract conflict because everyone wants power. Everybody fights for it. Everybody struggles to keep it. And before you know it, the power is never used. Nothing changes. Conflict rages. Panthea burns. I could see the picture pretty clearly. And I couldn't say Aisha was wrong. Everything she was saying, it lined up perfectly with what I believed. What I'd learned. But it left one major question. Sorry? Ariane's eyebrows furrowed, but Miss Aisha put up a simple hand. What exactly are you asking us, Devon? You're right. That all sucks. But what I don't get is what any of that has to do with me. With us. Well, about that. I just sat back in her chair, uncomfortably moving around. We want you to stop the conflict. Ariane. What? I dislike this beating around the bush. I'm telling it to Devon straight. I still don't understand. Devon, you want to make Panthea a better place, right? Right? You want to dedicate your life to a good purpose, right? Uh-huh. Well then, good news. Miss Aisha here is trying to make Panthea a better place for everybody. A safer place. A stabler place. But to do that, we need to handle these conflicts. And unfortunately, a lot of these conflicts are hard to handle. But there's one way to stop them for good. Finally, the implication was dawning on me. You're not saying... I do not suggest this lightly. I have weighed this decision for a while now. Very, very carefully. But whenever I do, I think of my childhood. I think of my late husband. I think of what I see when I pass by the streets every single day. I think of cases like yours. And the right thing to do becomes extremely clear. Change must happen. Change can't happen so long as there is conflict. And the only way to settle conflict is with violence. And so, you want to use me as a soldier? Neither Aisha nor Ariane responded, but their faces told the story. Of course. It all made sense now. Devon, I said that life is valuable, and I believe that. So then by the same token, can't deaths be even more valuable? It's a horrible plan that I'm proposing, but I truly believe it is the best way. No, the only way to create a Panthea without conflict, without suffering. The only way I can do it is with your help. I thought about everything Aisha had said, about what my life had become, what I believed in. You know, when making major life decisions, you'd think that you'd have to weigh them extremely carefully, that you need a lot of thought to come to the right choice. But no, it's more the opposite. At major junctures, the right option actually tends to come to you pretty instantly. Okay, I'm in. For a moment, surprise covered Aisha's face, and then it shifted into a smile. Excellent. And like that, the anti-conflict trio was created. To make Panthea a better place, we'd all do our part. We'd put out conflicts, and we'd make the city a better place. It took a while to get everything into place. For starters, we needed to deal with the little fact that I had strangled someone in the middle of an alley. Luckily for me, a member of the trio was the chief of police. She outsourced the case to a police officer that apparently she kept around only to be a gullible stooge. I think the name was Pandora or something? Point is, Ariane pulled some strings, and the case dissolved into nothingness. The force already had their hands full. Plenty of cases slipped through the cracks. The hope was that by the time they were done, they would no longer be the case. I also spent time becoming the perfect assassin, getting back in shape, researching effective methods, acquiring the proper equipment. Early days, I dealt with some immediate and reprehensible targets. I took to assassinating people pretty quickly. It wasn't a case where my first few objectives were bungled, training steps I needed to take. From my very first victim, I was efficient. However, we quickly ran into a problem. Aisha realized that everyone who stood in her way happened to die in an unexplained assassination case. Things would start looking pretty bad before long, so we had to come up with a workaround. Hence the cock robin murders were born. If it looked like the word of a psychotic serial killer, then things would be far less suspicious. Who cared about motive? It was just the work of some psycho. Of course, that would only work if the cock robin murders did happen to random people. I was pretty uncomfortable with the idea of just killing random strangers from different walks of life, as was Miss Aja. Luckily, Chief Ariane came in with a clever idea. She was, of course, a police officer. I mean, she came across her fair share of dead bodies herself. So then the plan was clear. Ariane and I would both become the cock-robbing killer. Ariane would set up the key items at a variety of crime scenes, ones that looked unlikely to be solved, ones that threw off the scent. And when somebody needed to be dealt with, I would fill in the next verse. It was an efficient system. It worked like a charm. That was my job. That was my life. That was my purpose. That was how I got here. And now, my purpose, my life, my job was all in shambles. This is the one thing that gave me worth. The one thing I had ever done. One good thing I'd ever done. Were it not for that fateful night. Were it not for Miss Aisha's generosity. Were it not for Chief Ariane's resourcefulness. I'd have died alone and unloved. I'd have died never having done anything of worth. I'd have lived a pointless existence. And without my job, my life, my purpose, I'd step right back into that pointless existence. Without anything to offer, my only meaningful achievements firmly in the past. All of a sudden my spiral was interrupted. I felt a vibration. Huh? I was so out of it I didn't realize the obvious truth. That was my phone. However, as I came to that realization, the momentary shock I felt dissolved into something far more insidious. A deep-seated fear. An inability to even look at the screen. But I had to. I didn't want to, but I had to. If I didn't, things could be worse. Though my arm resisted, I managed to pull out my phone. I looked at the screen. Sure enough, it was Aja. I was waiting for this. I hadn't yet had a chance to actually have a conversation with her. That wasn't quite right. I didn't want to talk to her. I was waiting for her to contact me. That definitely didn't make things better. What could I do? I couldn't bring myself to contact her. I'm not that strong. I had to pick up. If I didn't, I was truly useless. I steeled myself. Whatever was on the other side of that phone, I deserved it. I'd be fine. I'd take my scolding and move on. Hell, I was Odin's son. I was no stranger to scoldings. This would be a cakewalk. And besides, Miss Aisha was nice. She was understanding. If I explained myself properly, well, I couldn't expect not to be berated. But maybe she'd understand? Hello? Devon. Yes? What the fuck is wrong with you? Instantly my defenses shattered. I said I'd be fine. I thought I'd be fine. I was lying. What was wrong with me? Odin could only beat me on the daily and not achieve results Miss Aisha just did in a single sentence. For whatever reason, I was already feeling queasy. But I held on. What do you mean? What do I mean? Did I stutter? I asked you, Devon, what exactly is the fuck wrong with you? Well, Miss Aisha, it's entirely my fault. But I can explain. I think Polly knew he was going to be assassinated. When I broke in, he had bodyguards. Not just one, he had 2 bodyguards. And I know, patrol for that, check for that. That's the thing I did. I used Art's help to track his purchasing history. I did reconnaissance, I gathered intel, and for the life of me, I didn't find hide nor hair that he had bodyguards. And they were up real late at night. And I don't know, I guess I was confronted with them, I just panicked. I tried to salvage the mission. I thought if, I don't know, I just didn't spill any blood, the hanging story could still work. So I didn't use my gun until too late. If I just shot first, asked questions later, this never would have happened. That's entirely my bad. And well, when it was 3 versus 1, even still I could have won. But the cops were coming in. You said I'm your weapon, right? Well, I'm of no use to you as a weapon when I'm in jail. I know we've got Ariane on our side, but if I was found at the house, there's no getting away. I know I failed this mission, but I'm still able to help out for future. You're useless to me as a weapon if you're compromised. Miss Aisha shouted out in an angry tone. I hadn't heard from her before. She was very upset. Compromised? Are you saying, did Polly recognize me? Because that can be dealt with. I mean, Polly's hit is still on, so there are photos. I couldn't think of more disheartening 3 words. What? There are photos. Photos that place you at the scene of the crime. Huh? No, that's not possible. The whole time I was locked in combat with the... Well, obviously this combat couldn't have been that intense if somebody was able to get a picture of you. I had no response. This was devastating. How do you know this? Huh. How do I know this? I was shown this photo. I was also shown another photo taken of you. A photo taken of you and me together. Do you know what this means? Yes. What does it mean? It means I'm compromised. Precisely. Precisely. I had no words. I had no arguments. I had nothing. I mean, If this is in the hands of a journalist, we'd truly be fucked. So wait, it's not? No, just some opportunistic arsehole. Don't ask me how he got both of these photos. I don't want to think about it too much. Luckily, we're dealing with rats. Rats can be exterminated. At present, this particular rat is trying to use these photos to extort me. That's horrible. Let me handle this. I'll make sure this guy never... No. But what part of no do you not get? You moron. What don't you understand? This guy knows about our connection. He's been stalking us. He's probably expecting you to make a move. You think you won't account for that? But then, what can I do? Nothing. You can do nothing. So you're just going to give in to this guy's demands? Did I say that? No. Right. Luckily, there's another person I can turn to at a time like this. Though they're none too happy with me at the moment, thanks to your little screw-up. You're turning to Art? At this point, he's the brother less likely to screw things up. I'm giving up a lot by asking for his assistance. However, apparently he has a contact at the duets. I'm using him as an intermediary. They will handle things. Yes, I've resorted to consorting with the duets of all people. This is how low you've dragged me. Hold on a second. I knew I was in the doghouse, but there was something I couldn't help but bring up. Art has a way of putting out a hit other than you? Then why was he willing to pay so much to kill Polly through me? Finally, a sensible question. I had a similar concern. Apparently Art had reason to believe that he was not the only Deismer brother with a duet informant. Though he himself admits this is a groundless suspicion, born of very little evidence. Still, he wanted to avoid the chance that Polly would hear of his own hit through the network, thus using us. Oh. I guess that made sense. Though, did Polly really have a duet contact? I wasn't sure how much sense that made to me. Although it made perfect sense that Art would think that. Okay then, so what should I do? What should you do? Easy. Nothing. Nothing? Besides, you're right. Oh my god, how do you not get it already? Are you actually incapable? You were exposed. You're a liability. I can't have anything to do with you. Hell, this conversation is a risk. I'm just having it because it's even more risky to not tell you verbally that you need to get your shit together. I heard Aisha sigh on the other end of the call. Look, we'll reconvene and see what options moving forward are soon enough. See if we can salvage things. In the meantime, please, just keep your head down. Maybe rent a room at a motel. Get some rest. Get your head right. Okay. Devon, don't give me that tone. Answer affirmatively. Okay, Miss Aisha. Good. We'll talk soon. Don't call me, I'll call you. I just stared at nothing. I couldn't bear to think, because if I did, I'd have to process what just happened. I'd have to face the reality of the situation. I'd have to know just how massively I'd screwed everything up. God, fuck. I knew this would happen. It was only a matter of time. I couldn't be trusted with this. I mean, fucking hell, what was I thinking? Saving Panthea? Me? Ridiculous. Like clockwork, I'd managed to screw it up. I was exposed. My secret identity, my one asset, was gone. Now Miss Aisha was going to discard me. I was useless to her. I was useless, period. I never had any purpose in life. Until now I'd found the one thing I could do. And I ruined that too. Stupid, Devon, stupid. Why hadn't I checked the security more thoroughly? It was sloppy. Arrogance. Once again, I underestimated Polly. Once again, Art had gotten me in this shitty situation. Why hadn't I taken out my gun in that house sooner? Why hadn't I stayed and finished the job? Screw the police. I was a weapon that didn't miss. I was Gungiri. I should have finished the job. Consequences be damned. And I didn't. Because I can't. Given any sort of responsibility, I'd screw it up. Started to get a physical headache. Fuck. All sorts of memories started flashing through my head. Polly making fun of me, failed tests, Art's betrayal, Odin berating me, the day I spent in the iron coffin, the coffin's coldness, my failed attempt to escape from it all, the day I left the Deismer household seriously, my time at the military, the lunches I ate alone, the soldiers I killed in the raid, man after man after man that I shot, the cold feeling of the badge against my chest, the crampedness of the apartment, Odin telling me that he was erasing my existence, my hollow acceptance of it, the nights I spent at the bar, how wordlessly I got into that police car, reading the Cock Robin poem, murdering and murdering and murdering, and those sleepless nights every night in the same cramped room. It all spun my head, jumping from one topic to the next. It was uncontrollable. I knew I was spiraling and I could do nothing. I audibly screamed out to the world. At what? At nothing? At it all? Who knows? All I know is what happened next. I began moving forwards. I just couldn't handle it anymore. The spirals, there was nothing tethering me anymore. Everything I did ended in failure. There was one simple way to put it all away. I walked forwards, and finally I was at the edge. My feet were right at the edge of the building. I could see down. It really wasn't that far of a drop. I mean, comparatively. But you really don't need to be too high to get a fatal height for humans to fall from. You don't need to get too high to get humans to be nervous looking down. That's, death by falling off a building would hurt, right? More than a bullet to the head, maybe. I should know that. I was an assassin. I should know what hurts and what doesn't. And yet I don't. Whatever. It was easier with a pistol anyways. I'd experienced killing sinners. I took the classic 6-shooter out of my pocket and put it to my temple. This is it. I'd had enough. Right now, I could get out of the way for good. All I had to do was do what I was good at. Fuck this. I dropped my arm. Fuck this. No. This wasn't right. This wasn't what I should be doing. I flashed back to what Miss Aisha said. All lives are valuable, and deaths too could be valuable. I was sorry for my mistake, so I just excused myself from responsibility? Was I that big a coward? Apparently. But no, that's not right. None of this was right. I turned away from the ledge. What I should do is make things right. My purpose? Of course I still have my purpose. It was just slightly changed. To make things normal, I had to handle things. I had to do my job, stop the conflict, and maybe doing this would end things. Maybe this was my final volley of sorts. Last shot before I burned everything to the ground, including myself. Well, that's fine. I'm already a dead man walking. Future prospects couldn't scare me. My death would be valuable. I kept walking toward the stairs. Sorry, Miss Aisha. For once I wasn't going to listen to your order. I was going to make things right. As almost a nervous tick, I began spinning the cylinder of the pistol. There were many people who stood in Miss Aisha's way. That I could have eliminated. That I should have. Laverna. Polly and his 2 bodyguards. I was going to be careful. I was going to be smart. I was going to collect information. And then, I was going to put things into action. I'd manipulate them all into showing up in one room. And then in a single instant, I'd wipe every last one of them out in one go. I looked at the gun I had in my hand. 6 bullets. 5 targets. Perfect. A shell for every head. And 1 for insurance. Well, that very nearly got quite dark. I think it's still pretty dark. Hey, isn't that weird? Why would it be darker if Devon did take the big fall, as opposed to him deciding to kill a bunch of people? It's not. It doesn't make much sense. Probably because people get their knickers twisted when suicide's on the table. But why? Why is it a bad to joke about suicide, but a good murder joke gets the crowd rolling? Well, it's subjective, of course. Some people think you can joke about both. Some think you can joke about neither. By and large, people find suicide taboo, murder not so much. Maybe it's because people just might know others who have killed themselves. But come on, when you know the statistics, the suicide rate isn't that much higher than the homicide rate. It is in this country. If you ask me, homicide's a far more tragic event. When someone's killed, their lives, dreams, desires, plans, they're ended without any consent from the victim. With suicide, at least the person going gets to do it on their own terms, full consent. If some random innocent person was locked in solitary confinement for a month with no good justification, people would call that an injustice. Or prison in some places. But let's not get further off the topic. But by the same right, if somebody chose to imprison themselves for a month, well, someone might suspect that that person was a little loopy, but no one would really have a problem with it. What's the difference? Some people cry out that there is never a good reason to kill yourself, but that's arrogance, the privilege of those with lives that didn't drive them to want to kill themselves. If the remainder of somebody's life will almost certainly be filled with pain and misery, of course it makes sense to cut that off at the pass. Are there plenty of unjustified suicides? People who didn't have a good reason to check out? Sure. But let's not pretend that that's the only type. Then again, I don't particularly care about any sort of death, so perhaps I'm not the best person to speak on the topic. We need another bet though. Something else to bet on, something else. Well, hey, what do you know? Devon pretty cleverly set out a mission statement at the end there, huh? Gathering Laverna, Vels, Locke, and the 2 guards in one room. The 2 guards? Wasn't Vels one of the 2 guards? You mean Polly, Locke, and the 2 guards. And then there was some stuff about killing them, but you know, who knows what will happen on that front. I'm more interested in betting on that first bit. Will Devon be able to gather these 5 individuals and himself in a room? What do you think? Yes. I like the optimism. Devon needs a win. At the expense of 5 people's lives. Okay then, price time. What will you be betting? Let's do 5. Cool. Cool. Well, I guess we'll just have to see how it shakes out, won't we? We didn't get a key again. And the next one's locked. But we do have a gold key. So we can continue that story in the next one. And then hopefully we'll get a green key from that. Maybe? I don't know, we'll see. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.